Hey everyone. Hey Sahas. How are you, Sahas?
I'm doing great. It's really long time. It feels like ages since we spoke.
I know, and because last month it was basically we went into a pause, so we hadn't really
Yeah,
talked in a while.
yeah. Since like last month, if we haven't spoken for the last month, that means 2 months has already passed
Basically,
between
yeah.
our time.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
it's really good to catch up. And I
absolutely.
mean, our favorite topic is mindset. So we're on the flip side with myself and Sahas, and we love to talk about mindset. We feel that it's very important, and we like to share our knowledge with everyone.
Yeah.
So I'll start off with the quote that we have for today, and then Sahas, I'd love to hear your opinion on it.
Okay.
So the quote is, the mind is just like a muscle. The more you exercise it, the stronger it gets and the more it can expand. What are your thoughts on this?
I think it's self-explanatory. It's just like, building any kind of a muscle, even like the way that you go to the gym. You cannot expect the first day that you can, get big biceps or, if you like to get bigger legs, that is not how you get it. Or you want to reduce your weight or you want to get skinny or whatever you don't get it the first day. It's a consistent habit that you build over the period of time, and muscle, like your brain muscle, also works in the similar way. Like you cannot expect to be knowing or become an expert in the first go itself. It's like 10,000 hours, right?
Yeah,
10,000 hours is a good analogy for anything and everything that you do, mentally and physically both. This is what I feel like.
100%. I completely agree. And also, it's something that I don't think we all realize that you have to work on it or you think about working on it because like that, like I feel like, for example, when you're working on your body, you can see the change. I feel a lot easier, and so it's something that you can kind of quantify, be like, oh, I'm getting the muscles or I'm getting thinner,
Mm.
toned, whatever it is. So you can see it. I feel like when you're doing inner self-care or trying to strengthen things like specifically in your mind, I feel like people struggle with that because it's harder to see. And especially, I feel like, at least what I noticed, especially when I started my journey in real estate, like as a business where it
Mm.
was really having to do a lot, like trying to like, there's a lot of work involved. I would say that I didn't realize that I was progressing for some reason
Mm.
until other people were making me aware of it. And
Yeah.
and it's because I, for some reason, like you can't see it like every day, you don't see it every day. Like your body can kind of look at yourself like, oh, I feel like I'm toning or whatever. Like
Mm.
your mind is more, you don't see it, so you kind of don't pay attention to it. And you don't real I feel like it's harder for you to realize unless maybe you have like a book and you do kind of, because I did do this with reading, like speed, like practicing the speed of my reading, like how many pages I can get done in an hour. And for
Mm.
example, like how many times that I have to, let's say for focus, like how many times I have to reread a page or a sentence because I lose focus. Like I remember at one point I was doing that to help me, like that, improve on my focus and improve on the speed of my reading. And like
Right.
I felt like it was good to have that because you could see yourself progressing, where
Mm.
it's like having those matrix are kind of nice
Yeah.
to have. What do you think?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think you said exactly what I was also, and most of the people also struggle with the same stuff because this is not something measurable, right? You cannot, there are no performance metrics related to physical metrics to look into when you're talking about your brain because it's mostly like, I feel it's internal realizations or external realized factors which tell you whether some change has happened. And mostly it is due, I feel that it is mostly from external validation we get to know that whether we are, whatever paths that we are getting into. Internally, it takes a little while for us to even realize that, because for us, it's like for me, I can speak for myself, like when the change is happening, you won't even realize that change is happening. It
Mm-hmm.
feels like, oh, you have been on the same path. But when an outsider, maybe your friend, maybe your relative, maybe your wife or a spouse or whoever, they're the ones who notice you and they're like, oh, you have changed. Oh, you never used to do this thing earlier the same way. Or
Or
your
they
friend
start
circle
copying
changes.
you, right? I feel like,
Yeah.
or they feel like you're
Yeah.
starting to get ahead and they want to kind of get there too.
Or get away from you.
Or get away from you. You're like, you're too much.
You're too much for me. Yeah. So I think
that's true. Either or, right?
either or, yeah. So that happens, right? So I think it's simply the same thing. Like it's very difficult to self-analyze. But I think like what you said that, when you're reading and you are specifically measuring like how much can you read in a specific time span, that is something measurable. But we are talking about these things, and I think happiness metric is a very good metric to look into on your daily basis. That is why I think it's really important to journal, um, or it is really important to be grateful every single day. Start your day with those kind of habits, because you will realize that every day there is something or the other new happening. And one metric to look into is the same thing, is that go back into history, into your journaling, and see what were the things that you were writing about at that point of time and what you are writing today. So that will be a good metric to look into.
Yeah, that's a very great one. A great point. I actually love the gratitude because it's funny. You start off with like, what do I have to be happy about? Especially every day, like you're reflecting on the day before. And I'm like, I don't really have that exciting of a life, right? But then when you're forced to actually think about it, I feel like within like a couple days, you really start, oh, I'm so grateful that this happened. Oh my God, this too. And this too. And you start realizing like you start appreciating the little things, which is very important. Or something that I like to do, especially when I'm going through like tough times with my husband. Like I always make it a point to say something grateful about him. And I specifically do that because I feel like that, like sometimes when we get into like you go through your downs, I feel like when you, especially, I feel like when you go through your ups, I feel like your list can be quite big, When you go through your downs, I feel like it really helps you kind of pick it up a little bit, at least if you can manage to find one. And I feel like it would help me that I would always like, it's like mandatory for me to try to find one grateful thing that I can think about, even if I'm pissed with them, You pissed me off, but you did do this.
But you did this.
And then you're like, okay, maybe I'm not that pissed, I feel a little less pissed.
A little less pissed, yeah. So it's no, I think this is a good way to get less pissed on people around you. Yeah.
And then it doesn't seem so bad. I don't know. It's true. Like, because then you do start feeling how grateful you are for the things that happen. Whereas like that, if you don't pay attention to it, like you could be just kind of putting yourself thinking like nothing is changing and then getting into like a negative, like, nothing goes well for me. Like things aren't so good. And it's because you're not really reflecting back to the past.
I think this is a very important part of your life, or your daily routine. I think because, like we get so consumed with our daily monotonous way of doing things that we sometimes don't realize that we might be doing something different today, which we don't even, which did not ever exist before in the last day. So I think by doing such kind of exercises helps you realize your change is happening, the change is happening over the period of time. And your thinking process also changes a lot. And I can say it from with my own experience, how I've experienced earlier when I never used to journal. I mean, I used to hate writing, and then I just, I said, what, this is for my own betterment and I have to start doing it. And I have to appreciate this life as is. And there has to be a way to do that. Otherwise, I'll always be, grumpy every single day. So I think this is something which will help you channelize and your brain energy also in a most positive way for the day.
Yeah. And I feel like it's also something that I realized, because I would have to say before I kind of was like, why do I have to like write this down? Because one, I hate writing too, or in reading. So it's kind of funny that I like doing both now. Although I still go through my ups and downs. Like right now, I haven't been reading a book, but but it's more like laziness. But I do, like, I can tell you, like, I love reading now. But let's say with journaling was kind of the same. Like, I just never really saw the purpose in it.
Yeah.
And I was just like, whatever, I'm going to put the energy into it and just do it. Because I found an app, like The Secret. I use The Secret app, and that's where I write it, because you do your daily journaling there. And so I write it down, and I felt like that within like 3 days in, I just like really enjoyed doing it, because it made me feel happier doing it. And then I realized that it's, like, if I say thank you to you for the things that you do, like, it makes you feel good, and it makes you feel appreciated, right? And then it's just like, oh, why am I not doing that to myself? Why am I not appreciating the things that happen in my life, the things that I do? And because we all need that. You need that positivity, of like appreciation and being thankful for things, because it always makes you feel good. And especially, I don't know, it's very important to do it, because it's like important to do it for others. You see how much it benefits them. Why not do it for yourself? And that realization for me really even more kind of solidified just like the feelings I would get from already journaling, plus like my understanding of it is in that way of just feeling like, you have to send out, I mean, we always talk about sending out positivity to the world, or giving the positive vibes. Like, if I'm angry with you, you're going to probably be angry with me, and probably not even know it, just because we're feeding off each other's energies, right? So it's like the same thing happens on the other end. And it's just like, why not do that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think journaling is a very powerful exercise. You don't realize it until you start doing it. And it's just like, I would say that it's just like practice. Slowly and gradually, you do it like, for example, like when I started, I don't hate writing. I like to write a lot. When since my college time, I used to write a lot of poems. I used to write a lot of small excerpts and something of that sort. But I never tried to do it every single day. It's not something that you can build. That is again a muscle building exercise that you have to do, to write it every single day, because not every day you feel the same way to do that. But I think
especially with writing, I feel like you probably like have to feel that passion of something to write about. And I feel like that probably doesn't happen every day.
Yeah. And moreover, your routine is such that everything starts coming up one after the other. And you're like, okay, now I have to do this and that, and also have to write. I mean, so there are so many things already piled one after the other. So I think that is something that I really like. It's very important to give time to yourself before anything else in the world, because the world can wait. If you are not ready for it, you're anyways going to mess it up. So I feel that, like, whenever I wake up, for the next 1 hour or so, my internet is off. Like, night before, when I sleep, my internet is off. It's not on. When I wake up, it's switched on after around 1.5 hours when I wake up. And between that time, it's all for me. I will read something. I will, because the moment when internet starts, there are notifications coming in, and you get, stressed. There's so many things that you need to do it.
Yeah.
But it's just that I think once you start channelizing that, then you start, focusing on the things which are important in your life, and you start appreciating those things.
Agree. And it's just, I think it's also, now that you said doing it in the morning, because I also do it in the morning too, it's really nice to wake up and start with that positivity too. Like, because for me, actually, it's like the very first thing that I do in the morning. I mean, I can tell you I'm on and off. I can't say I'm very consistent, but I always try to make it a point of the first thing I do, like when I wake up, like have a glass of water, because usually I'm super dehydrated. But after that is like putting the energy into that. And it's just kind of like a nice pick me up to starting the day, which is like you just start in that positive vibe.
Yeah, the first thing that I do whenever I'm about to write, I think this is something that people can also, whoever is watching and listening to this, can also do it. Like, even if you don't find anything to write about, just look outside the window. Isn't it beautiful? It's like a good morning, like especially during summers. It's a good summer day, and it's a bright sunny day. just be appreciative about do like whatever, start with that, appreciating the day to day how it is.
Yeah.
It brings smile. It's, flowers are like so colorful around you. So I think just small things. And
And
then,
that's what it needs to be, because it is every day, right? And I
yeah,
think that's also the thing is sometimes, because I felt like that's how I started, right? Thinking that my life is not that like crazy for me to have like
it
all
doesn't
these
have to be.
amazing things happening every
Yeah,
day.
but
And
that
then
is
it
not
was
sustainable
exactly like
also,
you
no?
did. Because I would think like even of like, oh, like that I had like Giancarlo made me dinner and it was so delicious or something, or like you just start thinking or having the time to be able to relax when, or just like it's like the little things, because it is the little things that really start once you start understanding what are the little things, or at least it was for me when I started understanding, to appreciate every little thing, or not every little thing, but the little things that I found important in that day that passed.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it like that, it just became so much easier. And then you feel like, oh, I have like, you do start realizing how much there is that you can talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think 99.9% people in this world have the same kind of a life. I mean, it's not going to be every day is going to be not excitingly different adventure. It's
Mhm.
going to be the same life. I mean, there are things that you can be grateful and feel happiness about, which are small things. Like, you said that your husband made dinner last night. So that is it. Most of the people will experience these kind of happinesses every single day,
Mhm.
and these are the things to just cherish and be grateful for.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. So let's move on to a topic, because we're seeing the markets are changing, and I feel like this is probably affecting all of our mindsets. We're
There's
getting
something big is
scared.
coming.
The market's going to crash, go to zero.
Go to zero. Yeah. Yeah, I think see, it's a cycle, and I feel that we tend to get scared a lot by listening to what other people think about it, and especially the news, especially when there is a fear, a lot of things. Like if you think about it, the markets feed on fear also,
Mhm.
and if you're more fearful, automatically the markets are going to fluctuate, and it's going to play around your head also the same way, and you might also take some risky actions which were not supposed to be taken otherwise. But it's like uh, just think about it, like markets, this is going to happen, this is a cycle which will, like, no life, I mean, not even your every single day is not the same day. You have your ups, you have your downs. Sometimes you're feeling a little bit of a headache, sometimes you are feeling the most energetic possible. The same is with like any kind of work and business that you are doing. I mean, if you're going, your business or your work is going steady, that means you're not growing. It
Mhm.
always moves like this.
It
But
is.
that's why I always say that whenever you're looking at the charts, don't look at the charts the way in the period of how much is it going in terms of month or a week. Just zoom out and look into from, like, 10 years or 20 years from now. That will give you a little bit of a satisfaction.
Yeah, yeah. And just I think like having many exit strategies, like thinking things through. Probably this is like the best time, because I feel like the last 2 years, a lot of people got very lucky in real estate.
Yeah,
Whereas like now is the testament, I feel
exactly.
like, and it's really gonna test people's actual knowledge in real estate and understanding of
Yeah,
things and running your numbers and things like that.
yeah,
So I think um using the time to really make sure you understand the numbers and you
right.
understand your exit strategies, and knowing what are the different options available. Because I feel like when you have your different options available,
Mhm.
it also helps to kind of calm you down.
Yeah,
Like for example, for us, I know like we're still looking into flips, but for example, we're looking for very investor related flips. So if we get stuck with it, doesn't really matter, because at least we can get stuck with it and it's not a big deal for us. Um, so I think just, like checking your criteria and making sure that you can
absolutely.
still do what you need, and trying to be, I guess, which is always hard, by trying to be objective as possible when it deals with like the analysis of it, like what is a realistic drop, like it can never go to zero, guys.
Yeah, and I feel that when the time is when everything is going up, everyone seems like everybody is winning. Everything looks like that way, and I think times like these don't just give you the reality check, but also is a very good time to hone your skill set, because these are the times where actually you're going to learn something which you didn't learn at the time when everything was going very good in your life, or the market was going very well. So these are the times to actually which will help you to build that small muscles, actually, which will help you be better operator of your business, whether that be real estate, may that be anything else. But I think these are important factors to get you better experience and get you more maturity into your work.
Yeah. And even this is kind of probably going outside of mindset, but it just makes me, I feel like I want to say it, is using the time. Because, for example, I've noticed that before I was struggling to find properties and stuff because like the numbers just like zero made sense. But it was in the times where things go slow, I think it's always the best time to, for example, like work on your processes. Because I needed to take a break. Like I was so frustrated with how the market was that I personally needed to take a break from it. And I guess that's a mindset thing, like knowing when you just need to kind of just like, okay, let me relax before I make a stupid mistake because I'm just getting annoyed with what I'm seeing and sacrificing on my criteria, for example. So I decided to just kind of take a break. And then I was just working on my processes. I was working on my business, finding like different strategies specifically with my business stuff, like my networking events and all these things, my like social media. I kind of started working on that. And even I started actually paying attention more to the news and just trying to understand, how are things happening? How are we seeing things? What are the projections looking like?
Yeah.
So I feel like when we're in these kind of downs and let's say either like that, you're frustrated because you just can't find the right deals, or you're scared and you're running through fear and you're trying to reduce that fear.
Right.
I think it's always good to either like work on the business, like start getting prepared, or in both ways, either preparing the business or preparing for buying that next property, right? Like making sure you have the information and knowing in this market what deal works best for you and making it realistic, because I feel like sometimes people also give themselves unrealistic, let's say, deals because they still are working in fear, right?
And also I think it's really important to not to measure your success looking at what other person is doing. You should have your own metric to look into, like what is important step that you have to take for your business, instead of like, because a lot of people also have FOMOs during these times, right? Like, oh, the market is going to go down, maybe I should also be able to buy that, or maybe or the other person is doing this, I should also be doing that. So I think that is something needs to be avoided at all costs, because that is the way that you get over leveraged. And times like these will, it will just expose you more towards having a downfall. So run your own race, instead of thinking that you are in competition with somebody else. You are your own competition. Think what is best for you. I don't feel that there is a race to becoming a millionaire for each one of us in certain way. You have to run your own pace in order you to reach there. And if you think about it, and a lot of people also have this mindset about that, if I'm millionaire or if I'm a billionaire, only then I'll be happy. So I was doing I was just looking at statistics recently. There are just 8% people in North America who are millionaires, and 787 people who are billionaires in North America, or like this particular 787 could be all over around the world, but only 8% are millionaires. So with that stats, should I believe that 92% people are unhappy? If only 8% are millionaires, then does that mean 92% people are unhappy? No.
Oh, of course not.
Right. So I think run your own race. And during times like these, and I think just sit back, relax, think objectively, logically, instead of getting more emotional about things. However, the market's moving, just sit back. It's okay to zoom out and look how things are working out. Because I can say for myself also, like for a little time, you get that in
Anxiety.
anxiety, and you feel like, oh my god, things are moving, maybe I should also do something about it.
Yeah.
And for some reason things don't work out, and it's good for some reason that it didn't work out, because otherwise it could have gone a different way altogether. So I think just try to keep yourself out of these emotional
Or stepping back, like even what I was saying, right? Like
yeah.
I was going, like looking hard, and because I really wanted to buy something, but the high was just too high. Like that February, March timeframe was like nuts. And I was getting so frustrated that I was seeing myself changing criteria just to make the numbers work. And then all of a sudden I noticed that, and I was like, whoa, I need to stop, because I was just getting to a point of like, I was almost like, I was so annoyed that I was like getting to the point of like, I'll just buy anything. And then as soon as I said that, I'm like, I need to take a break, because clearly I'm just getting annoyed with, I can't find anything that meets my criteria. Cause I was like, if I'm changing my criteria, I'm just like, that's when I know it's like not good for me. Cause it's just like that. I was getting frustrated, I was getting annoyed. And then I just had to take a break. So I was like, the last thing I want to do is make a stupid mistake. And I mean, and naturally I'm like super conservative. So I knew that I wouldn't do that. But I felt like if I just kept on going, I felt like I think I would just stress myself out more and get more irritated, where I just was like, you know what, I'm gonna take a break for a month. And then like that, like I just started doing some market analysis, starting to understand like what is actually going on, what to expect, and just start. And even I was just like starting to learn about specific cities that I was interested in investing in. I was like, you know, I'm just gonna put this time for research in the marketing, and I want not marketing, sorry, in the market, just seeing how the market was, the economy was going, and just I started doing research on like specific cities that I was interested in.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a good way to look at yourself, when what kind of questions you start asking yourself. And the time when you realize that you are asking, okay, you're just looking at any kind of maths to work for you to close that property. That's the time you realize, oh wait, what am I doing?
Yeah, stop.
Stopped right there. And that somewhat of that sort also happened with me recently. Like during that time, I lost a little bit of money, but that money would have been even more if I would have just played with my emotions. And I mean, that was an investment that I was supposed to make, but I did not make. So maybe whatever I lost was a very fraction of the amount that I could have lost if I played with my own, made any decisions through my emotions. Because when you are a little deep, no, you think that there is no way out, and you feel that, oh, why should I take this hit? It hurts. Any kind of a hit is it hurts you, right? But that is where you need to a little, be unemotional also, that it's okay. I know that I'm going to get prepared for a little bit of a loss that I'm going to get, but that loss is good for temporary settlement. Because if I do something, that would be me going out of my own box which I created, the way that I do it. So I think that is also one way to
and being able to see that and step back is very important, because I can give you an example. Like this is related more to stocks, but I was and this was a few years ago when stocks were going down. Oh, when we had that big down that happened actually during COVID. I guess it was during COVID. I forget. I think it was during COVID where we did that really deep drop. And I remember that there were some stocks that I had in there that were before the drop losing money. And as soon as it started dropping, I was like, I'm just going to sell. I'm selling at a loss, but I rather sell at a loss now and then I was trying to catch the dip and try to wait to go down far enough, and then I would buy again. And like that, it ended up, like I lost money because I sold it at a loss, But then I bought, not at the very bottom, because who can time that, but I started actually waiting for it to start going up, where I felt like it was up enough that it's worth it to go in, and then I bought in that time, and then I made money from that. So I feel like kind of what you're saying, right? Like right now you're in the point of like the beginning where it's like you've lost maybe a little bit of money, but you'll see that something will come up that you will put it into or do something with it, and you'll be making more money with that one. Whereas like maybe if you let it stay there, you could probably have lost a lot more money, and then maybe holding it for longer or something with those losses, because now you're in so deep that it's like now you're waiting to recover, and then that could be years, for example, to wait for it to recover. Whereas like
100%.
better to pick it out now, just take it out and try to invest it somewhere else that makes more sense.
And absolutely. And I think
and that's hard, right? I feel like it's hard when you see your money's like losing money. I feel like that is like a very big struggle to make yourself take that money out, because I feel like you're always like, maybe I should ride the wave, right? Like maybe I should do this and maybe I should do that. And sometimes having the strength to pull is a lot of strength, I feel like.
100%. I think it's easier said than done. But if you've done it once and twice, you start building that kind of a muscle. And I think this is where you have to go through those challenging times. If you don't do that, you will never develop that kind of a muscle. And I think that experience has to happen in order for you to be more successful, more vigilant, more experienced, more matured in any kind of investment.
Learn from your mistakes. I feel like it's hard to learn from your mistakes when you're winning. Because I mean, when you're winning, there's mistakes that definitely happen. But you don't feel those impacts as much as you do when you actually are losing. You make mistakes and you're also losing money. Yeah. Those ones I feel like are where you really learn your lessons. Like I feel like those ones stick forever. You're like, that's never happening again.
Yeah, and education, right? Like learning from your mistakes. And similar thing is with the education, because I think no market, anything, whatever happens in the world, you can beat that with the right kind of education. May that be about mindset, may that be about your education about the system, everything included. The more you educate yourself, the better you're going to be in taking those decisions. May that be theoretical decisions at the time when you're making those, but those theory will be converted into practical once you do that. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. Maybe it is so much dependent on your one particular person's case of that criteria. But that theory has to be applied somewhere. That education has to be applied somewhere for you to at least know whether this works or it doesn't. So education beats everything, if you look at that.
Yeah. Learning from your mistakes and allowing yourself to learn from your mistakes.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people like stay stuck in their failure. It's like they fail, done. That was like the worst experience of my life. I feel like that's the worst, never doing that again. And to me, I'm like, oh my God, all this learning that you just did and you're not even going to apply it afterwards. Cause just like you had all these problems come and all these failures happen. And I feel like if you don't use that knowledge that you've learned and you're just like, I'm done. For example, I'm never going back into real estate. I never, having like, when I hear people say like, I'm never buying a rental property again. I'm like, oh, how could you do that?
Don't do that.
Like all that knowledge you gained.
Yeah.
And you don't now. I feel like if anything, you're like one leg up now because you've like made these mistakes and like you now know what you should not do for your next one. And it's like when people are just like, I'm never doing this again. I'm like, man, you learned so much. I'm like, at least impart your knowledge on me because I'll take advantage of that.
I'll take advantage of that. Yeah, no, true. I think it's important for you to know what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, and work on your weaknesses. If it has not worked one time, does not mean that it is never going to work unless you've lost complete interest into it. If that is the case, then
that's a little bit different. I feel like interest, when it's interest, because you do have to be interested in what you're doing. Like it does need to have a goal or a purpose for you to want to do it. Because if it doesn't, then you will never want to do it anyways. And
Absolutely. And if
It's
it
a
is,
bigger struggle.
yeah, absolutely. Like if you're leaving that particular industry or work just because you failed, then that is not really a good reason. But
Mhm.
I think if you have lost interest altogether, that this is not for me for XYZ reasons, because now I feel that I'm better at doing something else, maybe something, a byproduct or subdomain of the same industry. Yeah, then that's a different story altogether.
But then also though that does come from the learning, right? Like
Yeah, 100%.
you, the problems came up and it made you go in, like shift into this direction, right? So as long as you're learning from it, like
Yeah.
I think that's the most important part, because at least it shows you something that you didn't know about yourself or didn't know about a situation, and it helps you make another, make a decision for something else, be it in the same area or verging like, wow, I am not an expert in that or something, and I realize I'm better at this, and
Yeah.
then you start doing that.
Yeah, same, like the same thing is with me also. Like I initially thought that I could be a full-time real estate investor and also own a business. But then over the period, I realized, no, this is not actually for me, because I will lose interest over the period of time.
Mhm.
And what I do right now, which I've been doing from ages, is something that I enjoy doing. And I don't want to leave doing this in order to pursue something else. Yes, that could be the passive side of me, what I can do on the, because I'm always intrigued, fascinated how the real estate industry is working. And it's also somewhere related to the kind of business that I do. So I will always be connected in some way or the other. But like for me, it wasn't an interest thing that I want to dig deep into completely, as if that this is going to be my mainstream.
Mhm.
So I think
And I think even for a lot of us, though, it's more of a vehicle to get us started into
yeah,
other things we're interested in. I do notice that a lot. It's usually more like you're wanting to get into real estate to fulfill some kind of like monetary value that helps you get to. And I feel like the first stage is getting to know yourself, to be honest.
yeah,
Like once you have enough money, then you're like, oh my God, who am I? Who is Diana? What does Diana actually like and want to do? Because a lot of people are so consumed with the paychecks, like making sure they're making money so they can pay their bills, that you really
yeah,
don't think past that. Like you're almost just in survival mode. You
yeah,
don't actually have the time to be like, who am I? What do I actually like? What are my actual interests? A lot of people actually don't know that.
yeah,
And 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 I feel like you start gaining those kind of things once you've gone through, let's say, real estate or some kind of financial
yeah,
stability, where you can actually step back and actually take the time to reflect on yourself and be like that, like, I do love real estate. It's a lot of fun. Or you know what? Like I actually love to dance and be a part of do events or who knows, whatever it is. Um, but a lot of the times you get stuck, in the 9 to 5 job doing something you don't enjoy just
yeah,
because it gives you the money that you need to be able to survive instead of, and then it's like once you are gaining that little bit of freedom with
hmm,
whatever investing that people do, you start realizing like that's, I feel like when you really start noticing, um that's when you really start noticing people's like your interest in things, right? Because you're just like, oh, I don't really like doing this actually, or I did it's done its job. Now I want to know, I want to get to know me better or
yeah,
know what it is that I'm actually interested in.
yeah. I think it's like until you don't practice, you will not know what you really want, whether it is real estate, whether it is something else. But you have to go through the curves. That is how.
Especially like that, because you don't know yourself well enough yet, right? Because like a lot of us get stuck with just like needing to make the money to pay the bills. And so
And
until you're kind of able to get out of that, do you really start learning who you are?
yeah, and sometimes people also realize that getting into these risky situations, they realize that they are risk averse. They cannot take that kind of risk in their life. So they'll have to points like these, situations like these, they maybe realize that, okay, so me getting over leveraged during these times is not a good thing, because I'm not a risk taker of that kind of a,
Mhm.
I don't have that kind of a personality who can take this kind of a risk. So I
Mhm.
think getting to know about yourself better in the process is what actually, it will happen automatically. But now you will have to decide whether that decision that you're making is out of your fear, or is it out of the learning experience you got out of that particular situation.
Completely agree. And yeah, even talking about that, because it's funny, for example, with me, like I see some people like working on, like at a time, like 3 to 5 active, like where they're actively working on projects. And for me, like I realized, for example, with me, like I have my passive projects that I have and probably multiple going on at a time.
Mhm.
But I learned in me that especially because I guess the kind of bigger projects we do, I can only really work on one active project at a time because I can't handle the stress.
Yeah, you know
And I
yourself.
know in
Yeah.
myself, like I just get very like I get very laser focused when I'm like the active person in the
Mhm.
project. I get very laser focused, and it's like I just can put my 100% in that, and I'm very bad at like splitting my time onto like if I don't know how people do it. Like they can do like 3 or 6 projects at one time, and I'm just like I don't know how you do it. I get stressed with just one project. I was like, I like my project, my active one, and then my little passive ones just doing their job. Make
Doing
me
it.
money while I stress on this one.
Yeah. Yeah, you know your appetite, right? It's very important to know your appetite. And
What
once
about for
you,
you? What was yours?
sorry,
What about for you? What is yours like?
as in like, what is my appetite for risk taking? My appetite varies a lot. Like, I would say that I am a little on the extreme side of taking risk, not completely, but like my speedometer goes on the on the higher
You're
side.
like hitting speed like the fast.
Yeah, so like it goes there, it wobbles here and there, like on the top, on the higher side. But I think because I like that kind of an, I don't know, but maybe the kind of work that I do and maybe the kind of business that I'm into, I I'm so used to with that kind of an energy around it. I mean, it's not so much also healthy, I would say, because you are constantly stressed about things that are happening. But sometimes you feel that it is fun. So for me, it becomes more like, okay, so this is something which is happening and now, okay, things are happening. So it's more like, when you think about the things which are happening around you is a game. It's
Mhm.
not really it's like obviously not hurting someone, not a kind of a game where there are lives which are getting destroyed or anything of that sort, but where you realize that you're playing within your limits, but yes, you're on the edges. So
Mhm.
that is where I think I really enjoy that kind of, and I think that is where the creativity side of the things also come in. So
100% agree.
so
Uh,
working within the box is not something really I would like to work on. I like to work around the edges
mhm.
and somewhere on the outside or somewhere in the inside, but it's somewhere around the edges only. That's how I like it.
Yeah, I agree. And it's going back to I guess like your like how you exercise your mind and like your
Yeah.
mind muscle because it's true. Like I can tell you when I first started running real estate like as a business, it's really funny to look back
Yeah.
and think of like the stupid things that you used to stress about
Yeah.
compared to like now, like that my tolerance has gone up when it comes to certain things where there'll be certain things that come up and I'm like, I don't care, it's okay, like let's keep on moving forward. That's like not an issue at all for me, whereas like back in the day I'm like, oh my god, this is like the worst thing of my life, I don't know how I'm gonna deal
How are
with
you gonna
this.
do that?
And
Yeah.
you look back and I was like, that was like not even anything as bad as like I'm like I like now I deal with like bigger issues and those stress me out. But it's funny to look back at like the things that used to stress me out. I was like, man, it's so funny to me to see like I would stress about something that is like such an easy fix. And
Mm.
I'm sure in a year from now, the things I stress about now will probably be
Yeah.
like nothing.
100%. I think this is something which will happen eventually, consistently, if you're working towards one single goal. If your
Mhm.
business is what you are, like if you're looking at to some kind of a target that you have, automatically, you will be progressing towards that. It's just that over the period of time, the processes are going to get better. things are going to fall in order, and this will happen. Now, the only challenge and difference is like how sooner or later you want to do this. So that shift of the goal duration makes the whole difference altogether.
100% agree. So we are down to the hour. So let's finish off with um, one or two tips for the viewers. What kind of tip would you give to the viewers to help them like that work on their muscle memory?
Yeah, so I think like we started this conversation earlier that there is no way to measure the your health, your how happy that you are metric, like when you are talking about day-to-day activity. It's important to look into that by doing certain exercises, like doing a grateful, like you are writing a journal, or you are doing a gratitude journal or something like that. These will help you to internally have that kind of a satisfaction, because it's not, see, obviously education, whatever that you're learning in your real estate, whatever you're learning on the outside, which will help you deal with those external problems, you have to realize the power has to come from within. If you are not there mentally from inside, if you're not happy, if you're stressed, if you're nervous, if you're anxious, then anyways you're not going to take care of whatever situation, external problems that you're dealing with. So I think you have to drill down into how you start your day. That will decide how the end is going to be. So if you start doing that, and it's not something that will happen one day and you will be on the high horses, and I've achieved a lot of things in the first day itself. It will happen over the period of time. But if you haven't done it, try doing it consistently over the period of time. Just like when
And make
you
it something small, I would say, because I think the
small.
worst thing that we do to ourselves is like we pick these big audacious goals for even, let's say, something for mindset, and then we like set ourselves up for failure. Whereas like if you pick something super super tiny, I feel like it helps you succeed, and it helps you build that confidence and makes consistency feel not as bad, I would say,
Yeah,
right? Because
and
you're like, oh, it's the little thing, it's easy to do, right?
yeah, like always, like I'll give you a workout analogy. Like when you are working out, and when you know that you have to do 10 reps, that is something that you are consistently being doing. First of all, get used to of doing those 10 reps. Not essentially that, oh, tomorrow I'm going to start doing 20 reps all of a sudden. That will not happen, right?
You'll break yourself
You'll
and
break,
then not want to work out for like the
and
next
you will not
week or
never
two
going to do.
months or whatever.
Like I'll tell you, literally, I like with the same kind of mentality, I was able to do 155 something push-ups in one go, because I channelize my mind in saying that I can do 100 push-ups, I can do 100 push-ups, and every single day I started doing 100 push-ups on a regular basis, in one goal. So like 1 minute 100 push-ups, 1 minute 100 push-ups. The next day, once I developed that kind of an appetite to do it, then I pushed myself. Like when I'm about to reach 100, then I said, let me do 5 more.
Mm-hmm.
Just at the time when you are right there, I think that is a good way to start, building that muscle. That is where the real muscle grows. Especially now, getting back to that reps thing, like when you're doing 10 reps, and the next day you're doing 10 reps, and the next day to that, try to do 11 reps.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you build up that muscle, and that's how you're going to get that growth that you expect. Otherwise, there will be stagnancy. Even if you're doing 10 reps all the single time, it will still be you will still feel stagnant over the period of time. So you have to get a little bit of abnormality in your routine also, so that there is a little bit of an action which helps you to grow and experience something different. Your body wants to experience that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think when your body starts kind of getting bored is when you start like
It becomes
changing
a new
up.
normal, no? It becomes a new
Yeah,
normal.
you're just like, oh, okay, been there, done that. Like that
Yeah.
happens. For example, I am also going through a transition with biking right now. I do, and I'm very surprised actually. I'm very surprised with you expect, because I stopped biking in the winter and then I just started last week biking again. And I do incline biking. So it's quite intense doing like the hills, ups and
Wow.
downs. And I find it really interesting how your muscle memory is so good, because like I do three quite like high inclines. I do three, and I was started to be able to do that since last year. And it's funny because last year, or no, sorry, and then so this year, I was thinking, you think like, oh man, I must be like, I'm gonna be very, very out of shape. So I think, I should probably just be able to do one only. Like, let me just try doing one. I could do two easily. I was surprised at how, not easily, as in easier than I expected. I thought one, I would just be like dead tired because after how many months, probably like 4 months of not biking, you think like your body wouldn't be able to do it. And it was just really interesting that I went down, I went up one and I'm like, I could probably do a second one. I'm like, let me do another, like, let me do the next hill, because I have like 3 different hills that I do. And I was like, wow, I was like, my first time and I can do this. So like, I'm like, I'm impressed with myself, because you think that you'd have to, like, you also think that you have to start from zero, and you really don't.
You don't.
And it's very interesting to see that, like, you do start less for sure, like that. Like, I didn't even want to attempt all 3 because I knew, like, in the second one, I started getting like major cramps because I was like dehydrated and have to remember to drink a bottle of water and like get back into that routine, right? But it's just very interesting to see yourself, because you do even in whatever you do, right? Like that, like at the end of the summer, like I was to the point, like I was doing three inclines, and I was starting to get bored because it was getting too easy for me. So I started now, because I'm at the very, very lowest gear and I have 10 gears. So now I've like at the end of last year, I started going up 1 gear, so that now it's a little bit more intense, because I don't get that like runner's high anymore. And I can tell you, I love the runner's high. So I'm trying to find that runner's high again.
Okay.
But then, for example, like this one, like I did all 3, and I'm already like, so yeah, I think this is my 3rd bike ride, and I'm already doing 3 already, which I expected it. I was thinking like it wouldn't be that long, but I'm already doing 3 plus. I'm already doing one of the hills on that like that next level up. Like, now I'm not at the 0 mark or whatever, like the lowest gear. Like I'm on
That's so crazy, right? Like sometimes we so much underestimate ourselves. Right, but we just forget how much muscle memory that we have, what we have done, the kind of experience that we do. So
and I think it's like a lot like your mind. Like, I bet you in the first run I could have done all 3, right? It was more me. One, I was being lazy and didn't drink, because I need to drink like a full bottle of water, because you can have. So the very first year I was trying to get 1 done, right? And let me tell you, I would like I had like twice where I would be like laying at the bottom of the hill or at the top of the hill, like dying of cramps and pain and wanting to throw up. And it was so funny because my parents, I tell my sister, my parents and stuff, like, I'm like, oh my God, like it makes me feel so sick. And I'm like, I need to figure out like, and I'm like, I was testing my meal plans and testing everything to make it better.
Yeah.
And then, like how parents are, oh my God, are you pregnant? And it's not at all, like, you don't understand like the what I'm doing to myself. And then my sister tries to do it, because she's like, oh, if she's doing it, maybe I can do it. And my sister comes, because we'd have like weekly dinners, right? So we have like our family dinner. And then she's like, oh my God, I understand why you want to throw up. She's like, I couldn't even make it halfway and I was wanting to throw up, let alone like you make it to the top,
Oh, awesome.
And it's just so funny to see like that from imagine what, and compounding, right? 1 year I would say I did 1.5. Like I managed to get 1 fully done and a little bit of another one getting started. From 1.5, I went to 3. Right. The next year, like I feel like you compound a lot quicker.
Yeah.
Now I'm thinking to probably change to different hills because it's just getting too easy for me. And like that, like I'm trying to find that runner's high because it's so fun.
That's amazing.
But yeah, sorry, we got a little off track.
You got a little
tip. I already forgot our tip. Sorry, what was our tip? Our tip was
doing like same getting
like a micro habits and keeping them nice and small
every single day. I think it's start of the day. That's where you accomplish most of the things.
Yeah, and that was my point. And you do the micro ones, you'll see that maybe in like the first year, it's quite maybe just straight,
Low, yeah.
but in the second year or in the next few months,
True.
then you start seeing the compounding happen and you start seeing yourself really improve a lot quicker just because like that you have that base set. And once that base is set and it's quite consistent, I feel like you just start like really ramping up
Absolutely.
in whatever you do. Awesome. Thanks to you so much. It's always so much fun to chat with you,
Same here.
Sahas.
Same
I
here.
hope you guys enjoyed. You know, tell us your stories, your comments about what we've talked about. Would love to hear how you are compounding, how what you're changing, what habits you want to work on. We'd love to hear what you guys have to say. And if you guys want to hear another topic on mindset, let us know. And we'll definitely make that our next one. So
yeah, would love to know whatever you guys think or what kind of topic that we should cover upon. Like just like you, we're also learning. We're also like you were discussing about your runner's high. Like this is like I'm talking about my workout. Like whatever small things that we are doing in our lives, how these things are so meaningful that impact us so much into building that kind of a mindset. I think the things are all there in front of this. I always say that, the most difficult questions are the most simpler ones. And talking about mindset, talking about life, talking about our journeys, doing whatever exercises, grateful exercise, journaling. These are the things which are right there in front of us. It's just that, it's time for us to take action and start doing it one step at a time.
100% agree. Thanks so much, Sahas. Thank you, everyone. Hope you guys enjoyed. We'll see you in the next episode. Bye, everyone.